Welcome everybody to yet another price prediction and price analysis of a popular cryptocurrency. In the next few minutes I will do a price analysis on the Maker cryptocurrency, which is right now I believe a top 60 coin. Fundamentally seen, I think it has a lot of potential. And I'll just go over some of the most likely scenarios I think that are next for the price of the Maker cryptocurrency. Before starting, I would like to disclose though that I am a long-term holder of Maker, so although I do try to be objective and not let my personal views get in between this analysis and prediction, I might be a little bit biased. As I said, we'll try not to be, but I might be. And second of all, this is purely a technical analysis, so if any fundamental very good news pops up or fundamental bad news in the whole crypto sphere, then this technical analysis is completely rendered invalid. This is basically just looking at the technicals, looking at the price action, and concluding on top of that. So with having said that, let's get right into it. Basically, Maker has been in a steady downtrend for quite a while now, but now actually some bullish momentum is starting to come in and some bullish formations are starting to come in too. So I think basically two things can happen. As you can see here, I created a small flag, which you can actually see. I mean, here you could also see the lows getting lower, and here you actually get higher lows. Every low has been higher than the previous one. So I think two things can happen. First of all, it continues in this bullish uptrend. So it already found support, so that would not be a nice trade setup, I think. But around 2460 it found support, and when this bullish flag actually continues, this means that it would go up. I think that it will find resistance first at 2584 to be precise, and then I think it needs like one or two more hits off of this trend line. The wicks might shoot through the trend line, but the body should not really dip below it. To be honest, I mean, you can also draw the trend line like this. It should definitely not go under that with the body, otherwise this scenario would be considered invalid. So I think it needs two touches off of the trend line, maybe get a resistance a little bit higher at 2620 together with the 200 EMA, and after that I think it will shoot through this resistance area, in this scenario at least. And I do think that some resistance will again be found around 2720 and anywhere between 2720 and 2780. It's just a very strong trend line, 0.382 Fibonacci, which is very strong too. But I do think eventually it might not happen as it's stated right here, like immediately. It might have some consolidation in this area, so between 2780 and 2570. But eventually, I do think with this crypto that it will break through. And when it does break through this resistance, I think, to be honest, the next real resistance would be around 3100. I mean, obviously not immediately, although it could be. But eventually, I think that would be. I mean, the break of this key level right here would indicate to me that resistance is broken, so that support is starting to form, or at least a higher consolidation. And I think that uptrend or that consolidation will eventually reach 3100, and that would be the next resistance. So that's the first scenario. But what could also happen, of course, I mean, it happens a lot, that this support trend line actually breaks. And that doesn't necessarily have to be bad, because it could simply break and then it finds resistance at 2360 and like ultimately at 2290. If it goes below that, if the body closes below that area, I think we're in a lot of trouble for this cryptocurrency. That would signal some very bearish momentum, but in my opinion I don't think that would happen. So the wick could shoot up until here, but the body shouldn't close below it. And I think if it hits off of either of those support levels, so 2360 or 2300 around, just to say it again, I think it will go up. It might find some resistance at this trend line again, but that shouldn't be major resistance. I think the first major resistance in this scenario would be around 2500, but again, that resistance doesn't need to be very strong either. It could just bounce off of this 2500 and then bounce up until the 2470. It might ultimately go to 2400, and after that I think the same thing will happen in this second scenario as happened in the first scenario, and that it will break through this resistance area, eventually finding support initially at 2720, 2780, anywhere in between. And then I think the retest, especially if it like lines up with one of either trend lines, so right here would also count, right here also, I think we're in a good spot too, because that would signal to me with the break of this resistance that a lot of bullish momentum is coming through, and I think then ultimately it might again take a little bit lower. It might have some sideways movement in this time area, in this price area, but eventually I think it will break through the resistance area right here. So again, that's 2780, 2720, anywhere between, and then ultimately I think the next resistance is 3100. If it reaches that resistance, I really need to update this price prediction, because basically if it does, I need to look at how it did reach it and what momentum is there in the market. I mean, if it reaches it very quickly, that could indicate a lot of bullish momentum and it could instantly break through. But if it reaches it very slowly, so a slow uptrend within this area, then it might cause some more resistance. So that's basically what I think is most likely in two scenarios, because you should always be prepared to what has happened. I think betting on one strategy is never smart in the cryptocurrency industry. So if you have any questions about this price prediction or analysis or anything else about Maker, please let me know down in the comments, and I will make sure to respond to that as soon as possible. As for now, thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.